Well, hello, gentlemen. Here we are with Mr. T. We're gonna walk around New York City and talk about how we both separately overcome AA. And we had very different journeys, how we did it, and well, a little glimpse into mine. If you think you have AA, I had it way worse, but now I've dealt with it completely. And Mr. D has a very interesting story as well. And we're gonna walk around the city. We're gonna stop in a watch shop because I want to buy one watch, and we're gonna tell our stories. So enjoy.
Catch you in a bit.
Mas é o Rafinho GTS, sucesso com a mulherada.
Where are we?
Close to Brand Park, actually.
White Park. It looks very busy. You're gonna approach here.
Can see you right over there. Yeah, no, definitely gonna approach here. There are a lot of people, so usually when I'm in a place with a lot of people, I need to soak in a little bit. But every once in a while, someone will walk past, and I'm like, I can't let them go. So just move and just move my feet, go stop, say hello. Try not to put too much pressure on myself. The more pressure I would put on myself, the harder it would become to do anything. So if it's 3 simple steps, which is walk, stop, say hi, that'll get me somewhere soon. Maybe somewhere else.
So, Mr. T. Mr. T. Mr. T.
What's up?
How do you go?
So this was weird. It felt a bit contrived because we were walking around for a bit. I actually told you like, hey, maybe we should just leave this spot because I don't see anybody. But I happened to see someone who was marginally attractive, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll talk to this person. So as I was going to approach that person, I actually stopped midway and changed who I was going to talk to. Just opened whoever was next to me, complimented. They received me pretty well. They were smiling. I stacked a bit, wasn't really into them, so eventually I was like, hey, just want to compliment you. You look great, I love your style, and I got the fuck out of there.
That's all you had to do.
That's all I had to do.
Not filter too much, nothing too much, just say hi, and that's it.
And usually what's going to happen is 1, 2, 3 of these, and momentum kind of builds up, and then you can actually switch.
Okay, let's go to another spot and talk about how we started. And as we are about to start telling our lovely origin stories, this lovely gentleman goes open and check that's sitting next to what, a church, university, what was that?
I don't know. But she had interesting glasses, and I was like,
so
curious.
Mister, how did you start daygaming?
So I started by talking to people on buses, and this wasn't because I was trying to do day game. It was just because I was not a very social person. Or at least I didn't know how to interact with in social situations. And I took the initiative to try and figure it out. So what I ended up doing was I used to have a long bus ride from my apartment to work. And what I would do is I made sure that anytime I go on the bus, I had to talk to at least one person. Because I was not allowed not to talk to anybody. I had to figure out how to start a conversation with at least one person on the bus. And so long as I did that, that was a success. So I just kept on doing that for literally a year. I was just doing that. And with time, I got to learn how to interact with people in closed spaces. A lot of times people feel trapped. So if you try to, let's say, talk to somebody, they'll usually be thinking, most likely, is this person gonna stop talking to me at some point? And especially on the bus, if someone's in the window seat and I'm in the aisle, they were just less likely to talk to me. Whereas if I was in the window seat and they were in the aisle, they'll be more receptive. And I kind of thought, oh yeah, they feel trapped in one case, whereas in the other, they feel like they could leave anytime. So I learned to position myself in the bus so that I wouldn't trigger people to try and I wouldn't trigger this fear response. And then a few times, dark place, I'd be talking to girls, just friendly conversation, and just as they got off the bus, they'd have this look on their eyes like, I forgot something, or they forgot something. And I never understood the look until like 3 months later when I was like, oh shit, those girls wanted me to like ask them out. And of course, I saw a video with Yard sometime in between where he was doing the approaches on YouTube, and I knew that that wasn't bullshit because I was doing it. I just wasn't trying to get dates out of it. And so I switched my whole strategy to talking to people on the bus and train to, if someone looked like they were really engaging with me, then I would go ahead and get their number and then try to set up a date. But from then on, I just kept on getting my numbers by talking to people or just talking to people generally for the hell of it.
And how did you switch to cold approach to Daygame?
Well, I mean, technically I was already doing cold approach.
The direct cold approach.
Direct cold approach. I did not switch to direct cold approach.
Where do we have to go, by the way, there? Or?
Until we're gonna go left. I did not switch to direct cold approach until about 3 years later, and that was because I actually ended up meeting Yad. He was in LA, and I met him, and I hung out with him for a weekend. When I did the most sets I'd ever done in my life. It was fucking exhausting. I was so self-conscious the whole time. I was worried about the people who were on the sidelines looking. It was very weird. And a lot of people actually, when they begin, will be like, oh, someone's watching me. And you know what? Someone is watching you, but you shouldn't really give a fuck because they'll only watch you for a second, either because they're curious or because they actually want to see where things go. A lot of times in New York, when I've done an approach and failed, there was a dude watching the whole thing and it's like, dude, how did you do that? And I was like, it's all right. And like they're congratulating me and I'm just like, oh, I fucked up that set. But they're like, how did you do that? That's amazing. And I'm like, dude, it's nothing. So yeah, that whole thing of people watching is, if anything, it should be a boost because no one does this. Everyone's freaked out. But yeah, 2 years, 2 or 3 years after I'd been starting talking to random strangers, just in general, did I go more direct instead of indirect? And did I start doing more approaches in one session than I did before? In the past, it used to be one-off, where it was like, oh, I feel like it. But feeling like it when you're trying to learn a skill doesn't really help you because you need to do a lot of repetitions. So
do I ever feel like it?
Yeah, I never. Most of the times, to be honest, like a lot of times when I step out, I never feel like approaching. I actually woke up with one of my friends. I'm like, I don't want to approach today. But what happens is someone passes by, and I'm like, I gotta do this, and I just run off and do the approach, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this today, and that's how that happens. But I've conditioned myself.
So what about AA? Did you ever have an AA?
Yeah. So initially, when I started, yes, I would kind of like walk behind someone for a while, but that anxiety came from just the thoughts I was playing in my head, which were one, someone's watching me, or I was actually just self-conscious about people watching me. I might not have been consciously thinking about it, but I think we walked a bit too far. We need to go back. We need to go back. Go. And then make a left. So,
AA?
Yeah, AA. One of it stemmed from being self-conscious, the other from what am I going to say. And when I first started, I wasn't given a framework. So that's one thing that I never got from that one bootcamp I did, among other things. But I didn't have a framework for how to hold my conversations. And so most of the time while I was running, I was thinking, what am I going to say? It's like, oh, should I be the shoes? Should it be the dress? Should I be like, hey, you're Swedish kind of thing? And these were the things that would most of the time stop me. That and people just being concerned too much about people watching. It took a while. Yes, we're going left. And the lights changed anyways. It took a while. It took about maybe 3, maybe 5 months of doing cold approach with this anxiety before it became a thing that didn't really bother me. Though, very important thing I used to do, actually, every time I stepped out of my apartment from the time my door shut, I was not supposed to not talk to somebody. Say if I was in the elevator, I could not keep quiet. Like I was not allowed. I did not allow myself to keep quiet. I had to.
Not even anything. It would be like an old dude.
Right, yeah, because the whole thing was, yeah, the whole
Because people
idea
like
was.
different things, you know.
Well, that's true. But there's also the whole thing of that if you start by starting, if you open your mouth, then it's easier to keep on opening your mouth. And doing that on the way to work, it's about a 20-minute walk, allowed me to be at least more socially lubricated. And I then would do one actual approach before. I would actually stop someone and be direct. And maybe it worked out, maybe it didn't, but that's basically how I did every morning routine. And this went on also for another long time.
Okay, well, my hand is fucking tired, so
We'll switch.
let's explore the city a little bit, and later I'll tell the story about how I started, because this guy didn't have a lot of AA. My AA was through the roof. You imagine your AA, mine was worse, and I'll tell you the story how I overcame it a bit later. So we wanted to go and check out the watch store, but what happened is a thunderstorm started, so we are hiding from the rain, and we're gonna use this time to tell my story.
Actually, Robert is just weaseling because he doesn't want to approach. And
Oh,
it's
I'm
like
not
it's
approaching
raining.
anyone today.
Oh, fuck you then.
I'm coaching tomorrow. I started, I don't even remember how many years ago, but I had recently broken up. I just Googled how to meet girls, and I found some infields. And I found a product called Daygame Blueprint from back from the old days. So it was a very long old product. It was good explanation of Daygame. It was way too deep, way too technical, but I loved it. Anyways, I had watched all the theory. I knew what to say. I knew exactly how to stop them several ways with all the tiniest details. But going out for me was just the first time I went out. I walked around for literally 2 hours. I was walking around for 2 hours trying to gather courage to open anyone. I did not. I went home, I did the same thing the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and I kept going out almost every day for around 2 hours until I finally, for the first time in my life,
Actually,
gathered courage to actually say hi to a girl. And it was because the day before, I met a chick. It's a long story how I met her. It doesn't really matter. What are you doing? Stealing my...
I'm holding it.
He's holding it. So I met a chick that I met through other sources on Facebook. And we went out for a coffee like 11 p.m. Ended up getting a bonding, as I like to say in my videos. And I was on the way from her apartment back to my place the next morning. And I just saw a chick across the street. It was not logical. There was no kind of. It was just like snap. I went and I did it without walking around, without thinking. But I still had massive AA for a long time. And what I used to do is I would go out, and the next time after first time I overcome AA, I go out the next day and AA is back. So it was super hard for a while to overcome AA. But what I used to do is I would go out and I would ask myself, okay, I can do 10 approaches, I can do 5, maybe I cannot do a full set. What's the smallest thing I can do today? And sometimes that was just going out for a walk. Sometimes that was doing one hit and run. Sometimes that was doing a compliment to a chick, like in a store when I'm buying something. Like I was always thinking, what's the smallest thing I can do? And then I was slowly building up. I started from my first kind of goal was to have a week where I open one chick every day, one chick a day for a week. I did that, and next week I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna still do this. That's a nice thunderstorm. I'm still gonna do one set a day, but I'm gonna have one day where I do 5 sets in one day, or 3. I don't remember how many was it. So it was slowly building up. But then what happened? I got into a relationship, and I was in a relationship for several years, and then I wanted to go out again after breaking up.
Oh.
And what happened is I go out, I walk around for 2 hours, and I can't open a single chick. And again, I had to go out for a few days in a row
to kind of get it.
Yeah, to again overcome the AA and do the first set and slowly overcome the fear again day by day, do more and more and more week by week. And I was failing a lot. I had many times when I was going out and I couldn't open a chick. Even now, sometimes, in a place where I'm super scared, Serbia.
Well, that was once, right?
That was crazy. But no, this last spring when I went back and was super scared, I was able to approach, but I was afraid that I would go there and I wouldn't be able to approach. And
right.
even now, I still have some days. Well, maybe not gonna last.
It's raining like crazy.
So even now, maybe not in the last 6 months, because I've been traveling non-stop and coaching non-stop, but even once in a while I'll still have a day where I will not be able to approach even when I go out. So AA for me never really fully goes away. I can overcome it maybe 90-95%. But if I would take a few years off again, what would happen is, again, I would have AA. I would have to overcome it. But now I know what to do. I know to start super simple. I know to ask myself what's the smallest thing I can do. I've got a student who said the smallest thing, he will start running towards chicks without opening. But he had crazy AA and it was over coaching calls. So that was my story of overcoming AA.
So the rain dampened our hopes.
We, after watch shopping, went back home and now we're sitting at Mr. T's apartment, and a few last tips about how to overcome AA. Let's start with you.
Last tips.
Last tips. Just a tip. Just the tips.
Well, one, small steps. Pick the simplest thing you can do. And usually that's one, move your feet, stop, say something. Hi is enough. That's good enough to start with. Do enough of those multiple times.
Okay, I would say having a positive environment around you with other day gamers can be helpful, but most day gamers are talking more than they're doing, so that's kind of like a problem. It's hard to find good wings. If you wanna find interesting dudes, maybe also in your city, then you can join our group chat. We have a group chat of, right now it's like more than 260 guys, I think,
So
from
a lot
all
of
over the
people.
world. Yeah.
A lot of people.
So you can do that. Just go to my website, strobert.blog, join the mailing list, and in a welcome email you will get an invitation link to join the group chat. So you can go there, maybe introduce yourself, because we have a bunch of guys. No one cares when someone new joins. So if you're just showing up there and asking, hey, who wants to win in this city? Like, no one knows you, no one cares. Everyone already knows people. Cool day gamers know other cool people.
True.
Other cool day gamers. They don't need new day gamers to hang out with. So think, how can you be nice to the community? Introduce yourself. Think what else you have going on in your life. If you want to hang out with cool day gamers and you're a beginner day gamer, most likely for them it's not that interesting. So you have to always think, what else am I bringing to the table? Maybe you are an expert at fitness or like investing or whatever else, and you can have interesting conversations with them. Because again, you're getting something from them that is winging with them, but what are they getting from you? So you always have to think about that when you're winging out with new people, with new wings.
And I have to say, it is very important to do the introduction. The weirdest thing is someone joins, doesn't say anything for a while, and then all of a sudden asking questions, and people are like, why the fuck should we tell you anything? We don't even know who you are. It really seems like you're trying to just suck value and not really give anything back.
Yeah.
So at the very least, if you do join, even if you don't feel like you have something to contribute immediately, just tell your story, why you're there, what you hope to accomplish, and at least people can find you more relatable and they'll be more willing to help you.
Yes, exactly. I don't know, what else? If you've been doing this for, if you have been struggling for months and months and months and have tried everything and can't overcome it, I mean, I'm obviously gonna say get coaching.
Yeah, get coaching. It helps. I've actually coached with a lot of people right? Like
Wing.
wing, whatever. I've seen different people's styles, and it helps to have the perspective of someone else who's actually able to go out and do approaches. The few people that get to wing with me get to see that usually I don't waste any time. In fact, Super Mario on the group chat, when we're in Mexico, he'd be chatting about how he liked a girl, and like literally by the time he looked and finished his sentence, I was already there talking to her. All right, he learned from me that if he wasted even a second, he would lose the girl, and so that's from his perspective. His thing was not to waste time, and just by going out with people who actually approach and don't spend most of their time talking, because I have definitely been out with people who talk about how they're gonna approach, and 30 minutes later, motherfucker's not approaching. They're just saying how they could have approached that girl. And I'm like, fucking do it, but they don't. Anyway, run away from such people if you meet them. They're just gonna waste your time and probably also fill your head with things to make you scared. That said, if you do notice that someone has certain traits and behaviors that you think will be valuable to you getting better, or that you want to emulate, those are the people you want to hang out with, right?
Thanks for watching. See you in the next vlog.
See you in a bit. Ciao.